Well, finally, this episode arrived. I am super excited. And we have here Jonathan Martin, that is the director of FilmQuest. For my opinion, the best film festival ever made in the history.
Well, you do me a kindness. Thank you very, very
Really,
much.
I'm really honest. I'm born in the film business. I went to festivals all my life, between Cannes Film Festival every single year for more than 15 years in a row, Sundance, that is around the corner here, Tribeca, the one in Germany, the one in New York, all of them. Amsterdam, all of them. The film festival that I had more fun in my life is your festival. So thank you very, very, very much.
Grazie, signore. Grazie.
Let's see how you accomplish all of this.
Let's find out.
Now I'm very curious to know all the stories. So if we want to start all of this with a little introduction, you can say whatever you want about yourself.
Okay. I'm Jonathan Martin. I'm the festival director for FilmQuest, also the founder. I should say co-founder, more accurately. I did found it with my assistant director, Jonna Jackson, and the deputy director, Richard Teasdale. I'm also a filmmaker myself. My production company is Bohemian Industries. My first narrative that I did on that was a horror short film called An Evening with My Comatose Mother. And when it played the festival circuit in 2011 and 2012, it proceeded to play over 100 festivals and win 76 awards, which at the time made it the most awarded horror short film ever made.
Wow.
Now, doing a festival and all that, that was not in my vision. Maybe when I was like in my 50s or something like that, and I've made it, then I'd be like, yes, I'll do a film festival. But that's a little backstory on me there. Originally from Houston, Texas, but as you say, the biggest marketer, the biggest supporter of Provo, Utah, right here on Leo Saves the World. But here I'm gonna say I'm number one.
I am the second one.
Yeah, you're
I am
number
the
two.
second one.
Yeah,
I am number two.
yeah.
I discovered this place that we should keep it secret, by the way.
We should. We don't want you to come here.
No,
we want you to come, but then we want you to leave.
That's right. Only for the festival, please.
Right. 10 days.
10 days.
Yeah.
That is a long time.
It's a good time.
Anyway, so let's go. I have so many questions. So let's go from the origin of the festival. What was the first vision of the festival, and when was that?
Like when it first hit me?
Yes.
And
what was your vision? I want to do what?
Yeah. Well, it fell into my lap, the festival. So I was actually in post-production on a follow-up short that I was doing. I had actually co-directed it with my sister, trying to bring my sister into the film industry at that point. And this short, you could look it up now. You could see what it is at the end of the day. I was in a very long post-production process on it. But it was called Kiss the Devil in the Dark. And it stars Doug Jones, for example, in there, if we all know Doug Jones and love Doug Jones. So I was taking some meetings with some visual effects artists here in Salt Lake, in the Utah area, but specifically Salt Lake. And what ends up happening is while I'm in this meeting and I'm showing some footage to the artist, there's just this guy that was there. And he's looking at it, he's all like, hey, you should come on over to the office. And, I've got an event that we're looking at doing too. So I said, okay, cool. Once I'm done with this meeting, I'll come on over. And for those of you that know the area, this was it's in a building called Trolley Square. So it's kind of used to be a prominent mall. And now it's like a bunch of kind of offices and what have you, mixed with a mall. It's kind of an odd place now. And so we went in, and it turned out that he was doing a fantasy convention called Fantasy Con. And this is so at this time, this is 12 years ago, like now, actually. So this is February 2014. And I go in, and they've got this really great setup, and they start to tell me about they're going to do a film festival. And they just start coming with all these ideas about what they want to do. And I kind of tell them, like, that's not how you do a film festival. These are not how you want to do it. One of the ideas was like, we're going to give $10,000 prizes to like the first and second and third place, like $10,000, $5,000, all that to the filmmakers. And it's going to be free to enter. And I was like, do you even have any concept of how many submissions you're going to get once that happens? How are you going to watch it? What's even your goal? Like, what are you trying to do here? There are things like these that are questions that we had. And getting down to it, we hit it off, and he said, hey, I want you to run our film festival. And I said, well, under two conditions. One, I have control over it, and is what I want it to be. And second, it's separate. It's not FantasyCon Film Festival or anything like that. It's going to be something else. We'll work in collaboration with you, but it's going to be different. So what ends up happening is, so I knew instantly, hey, this already made it what I was already interested in. So it would be a genre festival. So we were going to be broad in our approach. That was sci-fi, fantasy, horror, the beyond. We didn't have to just be strict to how those worked. And we had 4 months to put on that first event because FantasyCon was happening in July. So from the time we pretty much got the ball rolling was like March, and like 4 months later, it was the first week of July. And flashing forward, FantasyCon never happened again, and we kept happening. And that's kind of where that went.
I love it. So basically, he started as an experiment. That's the best way to start things.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I wanted to be successful, right? The experiment, but yeah. It was, we were definitely playing for keeps coming out, but there was a little bit of just putting the toe in the water and seeing where it takes us. And I'm not one to quit.
And how many days back in the time?
So that very first one we actually led up to FantasyCon. They kind of, without, passing too much judgment or comment, although I think if they happen to ever listen to this, they know where a lot of us stood on this, was they held it the 4th of July weekend, which I think really hurt that convention because it was a good convention. It was actually a really good con. But we started on, I believe, July 1st was our first day. And then we ran 6 days. And so 3 days were at the Gateway up in Salt Lake at the Megaplex Theater there. And then 3 days in the convention at the Salt Palace in Salt Lake as well. And so that's where it was. And didn't get a lot of attendance, like hardly any attendance. They didn't even announce it during the con. Like we're sitting up there and it's like maybe 3 or 4 people would come in. And I had to like kind of go and pull some teeth to be like, hey, you gonna announce to the floor that there's a film festival also happening? But we had something interesting happen where there was actually a lot of filmmakers that came that first year. I would say 50 came.
Wow.
And that's a high number, especially for a year one festival. And there's a lot of things that we could kind of get into the backstory, I think, about why that is, especially as I kind of look back in time and kind of look at and assess things. But we had some cool people, like Toby Froud showed up. And if you know who Toby Froud is, he was Toby the baby in Labyrinth. And he had just, yeah. So he showed up with his crew and he had done this puppet short that, what was it called? I want to say it was called Lessons Learned. But so he had directed this and it was and he had learned how to make puppets from his parents because his parents had made the puppets with the Henson Company, the Frouds. And so he did this cool thing and he partnered with Jim Henson's daughter. She produced it. And they won a couple awards that first year. And so his crew came out from Portland. And I think he works for Leica now, actually out there. So he's worked on a lot of those films with Travis Knight's company.
I'm so curious about this. I'm gonna research
check out this film. It's a fun film. It's it's one of those films that even all these years later have stuck out to me.
Absolutely.
And so he was there. I remember that Sylvester McCoy from The Hobbit and Doctor Who, he was there as a guest from FantasyCon. So there was a couple cool things that we could lean into because of that.
I love it.
And so he helped did some things as well. And so there was a little bit of a celebrity aspect to that very first year that, even though FantasyCon wasn't able to keep going, we were kind of able to lean into that a little bit. So I think, and that as well as our really cool Cthulhu trophy that we had from day one, we knew that we had to do something like that. I think those two factors and really good marketing and branding right out the gate really kind of established us as something very different and something that felt like I need to go to this even from that first,
I love it.
that
From
first
the
time,
beginning.
from the very beginning. And so we were always able to kind of build that word of mouth and reputation through the years. And there's other things we could obviously say to that. But that first year was a fun year, even though hardly anybody came.
But I love it.
Yeah.
I love it that you decide to do a number 2, number 3, number 4, because I discovered the best festival that I've ever been. So I'm so lucky. And I'm sure that with the experience that you have now with all these years, one thing that I really liked was this festival is great for filmmakers and for the audience. Both. And it's so difficult for me to find festivals that are like this with this balance. And was like this from the real beginning, that I can hear that maybe it was, or this was like a natural direction after years?
Yeah, it was definitely there at the beginning, but there was some growth, some maturation, things like that comes with that, right? From the very get-go, I think we had very strong programming, and we had a really good team. There was a core team of us that was there, and I mean, I'll kind of lean into that first year, to kind of goose things and to establish the quality of what we wanted to do. We don't do this anymore, but for that first year we did, just because I knew that we needed to build some momentum and get that word out. I would go on to, and I kind of forget now, but at the time, I actually think things were in a little bit more of an interesting and exciting place for indie filmmakers, because digital cinema was still in its first decade.
Absolutely.
I mean, we were really only like in the 6th or 7th year of it in 2014. Vimeo and Short of the Week was really flying high. That was really, really a big part of this. People don't realize that they would I can't speak to how much it is now, just because I'm so much more concerned with other things. But there was a time where when they would have these websites and they would spotlight either Short of the Week or other websites that they would do write-ups on these films, and it was like a full-blown spotlight that would kind of go out to the industry. It was like, if you were in the industry, whether you're an executive or somebody in development, all that, they'd go to these websites to find the talent, right? And now it's almost like you have to just kind of I hope I go viral on YouTube, right?
That's right.
And Crypt TV hadn't quite come out yet. It comes out 2 or 3 years later, 2016, I want to say, is when Crypt TV comes out, and that people are getting 40 million views on Facebook. So this is a really interesting, exciting time that's starting to happen. So I went out and I recruited films through Short of the Week and others. We got a lot of submissions. That first year we had about 500 submissions, which is a lot.
Wow, for the first year.
Just for 4 months of submissions or 3 months. It's a lot.
Crazy.
But some of that was through the invites that we did. So I went out and found, and this really, outside of me doing the festivals, this really got me involved in the world of shorts and finding out that whole aspect that I wasn't totally aware of, even as I was going through the festival circuit. And, and I've always been one to just research things from the websites to the films, read and actually do my homework. But we invited, one that stands out to me is we invited the short Lights Out before it had only just kind of come out. And so I found David F. Sandberg's website, emailed him directly. He wrote me right back right away. He's like, yeah, you could totally play my film, right? Met some other people.
So you were very proactive from day one.
Yeah, got that in. But I knew it was the quality.
That's right.
This was the standard that we wanted to set. These weren't necessarily the films that were going to win, but this is the standard that's going to go in. And then by having that also nurtures the audience.
That's right.
Right? Good films creates a better audience experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Before I forget this, one of the first feeling was, look at this festival. So when I watched your festival, I liked every single short and feature film, every single one that I watched. And I was thinking, we complain so much that is in streaming, the usual suspect, Netflix, Amazon, all of them. We complain so much that there is no quality, and you spend all night flipping for watch a movie, and then you go to bed just because you didn't find anything. That in this festival, movies before distribution are great, then something is wrong. What are distribution companies doing that they're not able to see this pearl, these gems and all of this?
Yeah.
Why so many movies that they found distribution in the biggest places are so boring? Maybe they have a lot of money in production, but they're so boring.
Yeah, I mean, we watch everything. And I think good programmers have the same brain as good distributors. And good sales reps and all that, right?
Okay.
We're looking for the same things that are there. And first and foremost, we have this rubric that we look at as we're going in and as we're analyzing a film. And I want to say one quick thing before I get into the rubric is there's about 30 or 40 films that we leave on the table that we could totally program. But because we're a single screen venue, we can only do about anywhere from 16 to 20 feature films a year. That's because we do have a lot of strength in the shorts. As we grow and expand, obviously there'll be more opportunity, and we can speak to that a little bit later. But so it begins actually first and foremost with the production value in the rubric. Yes, story is king. Don't get me wrong there. Like, we're going to get to that, right? But it begins with production value. Because at the end of the day, audiences are trained. Like, you can't get away with things like, unless you're really going for something with very certain pastiche, right? Like, I want
with a
this
meaning, with a meaning.
Yeah. Or
but audio need to be great.
Yeah. Everything has to, because that is what people are used to seeing.
Right.
That is absolutely the standard.
Right.
And yes, guess what? I have to keep in mind that when somebody's coming into the festival, this could be their very first time at any film festival, not just ours. So what are they used to seeing, right? Well, they're used to seeing high production value, whether the budget's high or not. That's what they're used to.
Perfection.
Yeah, they're used to seeing something that's good, and they're used to generally seeing good stories on screen, right? And so that's how it begins. But at the end, it all comes down to the story. So now we're able to figure it out. Okay, this is what the next level, the elite, is. And now that doesn't mean that there's not other room for others, but these are the films. Now, when it comes to distribution and those type of films, there are certain things that we're looking for as a festival, not just us, but a lot of festivals that maybe, I don't want to speak to too many distributors, right? Because, I have a lot of friends in there and I might have my opinion about what some of them are looking at and how they're doing things. Right. But it all comes down to, fair or not, and you hear people say like, oh, well, I want like a slow burn. I want you to feel it. Oh, we feel it when you do that, right? Like, and I'm looking at the reject button the whole time I'm feeling it, right? Like, is you need to capture us in the first 5 to 10 minutes.
Right.
Now, after that, you could take your time with it. You could give us some things, right? I
agree, 1,000%.
But within the first, we're talking the first frames that we see. We have a very good sense of what we're getting into from that production quality standpoint. Now, we give every film a shot. We watch everything. We really do. I'll say the majority from beginning to end. There's a few that, like, let's be real, nobody.
So the advice here is for filmmakers, for independent filmmakers. The advice here is, please start your first 5 minutes of your feature film like insane.
Yeah.
Put a lot, and he's absolutely right. Put a lot. Give me like some vibes of what the movie will be, because you're not famous, you're not using famous actors, so you're really playing with your first 5 minutes, people, if they will like you and stay or not.
Yeah.
This is absolutely true.
No, I mean, look at it. Even like the old title sequences, like for some of the films. I mean, if you look at what they would do and say Good, Bad, and the Ugly, it has a very iconic title sequence with the film and all that. And it might be like 3 minutes before the film really begins, but you're in. You get the vibe of it. You feel it, right? And so whether it's a really great title sequence, you're like, well, I don't have the money to do something really there. Then give me a great title sequence for 2 minutes that like wraps me in and lets me feel the vibe of your story, right? There's a lot of ways that you could kind of get around that with a budget. And I'm not saying, there's a lot of great looking films that we've programmed, feature films, that only have a budget of $10,000, right? Like, and I know that's all they had on there. Wow. And so there's, your budget isn't the limitation. It's your vision and what you're trying to bring us in. So distributors are looking at that, at least that. They're looking at like, okay, because they recognize this is what's going to capture an audience. This is what's going to bring them in. If you can't keep us interested for the first 10 minutes, it doesn't mean that your film's not going to be distributable. Right. It doesn't mean that your film's maybe not going to get into the festival. But there's problems that are there, right? And so a lot of filmmakers, they'll make a film for, say, $1 million. And it looks fine, but nothing happens for 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And you really don't know where the story is going. Yes, it's distributable. Yes, this is programmable. But you're not going to get $1 million in the offer. You're going to get $25,000 to $50,000 on your offer.
1,000%.
And it's because
that's the reality.
Like, yeah, and they're like, well, wait a minute. It's because I made this and I made it look like this. Yes, you did, but you didn't make a film that actually appeals to anybody. Like you forgot who your audience was, and so that's one of those things. So coming back to like the programming to kind of get to it is like when you break down that barrier and you're choosing and you're spoiled for choice. Now it comes down to another factor is taste and curation. And I really vouch for our programmers, our judges, everybody that goes through and watches the thing. I think we have a pretty unique process behind the scenes how we do this. Everything does come through me. I do my eyes lay eyes, I guess, on
ultimately on the program.
Yeah, on everything.
Yep.
On everything.
Yep.
I see everything. At least I'm talking about every film with every judge.
And
that
this
was
is
on
great because you are basically the glue that bring all together. And so if you watch all the movies in your program, there is a big personality in the film festival, and you can tell.
And you can program the blocks better as well. Yes, there's some things that you're working with, but now you could program thematically to the block. And so now as one film, you actually start to pick up on threads between the shorts, for example. Like, wait a minute, like in Midnight Madness, for example, we had one that was all about, it was called Milk, and it was about a deranged Santa Claus who pumps a dude from his nipples to get the milk because he forgot to put the milk out for Christmas. And then that led into a short called Wall Udder. And the very first line that comes in as the husband tries to snuggle his wife in bed is like, "Why does your breath smell like milk?" Right? So it's like it leads into that.
I love it.
The audience was they were in the floor, right, in the aisles, and because it built into itself. So you can program in such a way that elevates the other films around it. So it's like, wow, and it's banger after banger. They're not just good, but because of the way that you sequenced them and the way that you put them together, it takes all of them and raises them all, like, right, it ships on the tide. And so with that kind of final thing, we were at the Red Sea Festival in Jeddah 2 years ago. And this was the 2024, and the festival director for Cannes was there. And I really loved what he said, because they were talking about programming and what they do and what makes a Cannes film. And what makes a Cannes film is very different from what other films could be. And he was very honest, and he said there's a lot of great movies, really good movies that they don't take. And he's like, it's not because they're not good. It's not because they're not going to be successful. It's just because they're not a Cannes film. But he also said this, and I kind of wanted to applaud him for this, because he was very French in the way he said this, right? You understand what I'm talking about, Leo. But there was that cockiness, but that there was a lot of personality behind it. And he's like, it comes down to taste. And he's like, you either have good taste or you have bad taste. And I have great taste, is what he said, right? But I totally understood what he's talking about.
Yeah. That is actually, it's a big responsibility, because you are one person. So if you really have good taste, you have a great festival. If you think you have a good taste but you don't, you will have a so-so festival. It's so true. But the fact that you are in control of everything that gets screened, he get a kind of insurance. And this is so good, because nothing pass under your radar, and I love it. And about this topic of distribution, I think we're going to do another podcast for sure, and I will invite you, because I will bring you like my prodigy and my personal, like, okay, so he ran a festival where all the movies are great. Why you cannot all do this, And I can invite some people from distribution. I have some friends as well, because I want to know why in this major distribution company we end up to flipping and go to bed.
Yeah, honestly, I think I want to be careful with how I say this.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I know that there is a lot of politics.
Yeah.
There is a lot of, this actor did a new movie, so he must be there. This director did a good movie. But, sometimes there are nights where you flip in one of the biggest distribution company, and you find nothing, and you go to sleep,
Yeah, well, my wife sometimes gives me a hard time, because, I get the old Blockbuster Video syndrome, where I'm just going through and scrolling through on there, and I'm just looking more at the covers and the trailers than I'm actually watching the movie, right? And
she's like, stop!
Yeah, she's like, no, just pick something already, right? She's off camera. She knows what's going on. She's there laughing if you hear a little laugh. But, the distribution thing is, and I was at some panels during Sundance and things like that, is like, honestly, okay, getting real. I don't think more than 30% of features made are distributable. but I think like that are worthy of distribution is what I mean.
Yeah.
There's more than that being picked up for distribution. I think that's part of it. And I'm talking indies right now, right? But that does start to bleed into what's being made and what's going on. Again, like I said, that's why we've actually introduced a market for the festival this year, is because we want to be able to start expanding our offerings and bringing more opportunity, even if the films aren't in the competition. But one of the things that makes it different with what we're doing is that's a curated market. If you go to AFM or all these, there's no curation.
Right.
They pay a fee and they get to go out there, right? And like what we are is like, no. Yes, we couldn't take your film because we only had so many slots, but we are inviting you to the market so that you can screen to distributors and all that and be a part of that and actually get these opportunities. That's one of the things that we're going to be doing that's different. But it's also that curation. So we're signaling to distributors like, no, you don't need to go hunting. Like these 30 or 40 extra films on top of what we have at the festival are all films you can pick up for distribution. Every single one of them you could buy. It might not be what you want, but I guarantee you one of your friends or rivals or competitors or whatever they are, they're going to want this and you're going to like refer it to them. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be so much that you come in, and once you realize that we have more than one or two, and actually there's more, because you brought up the distribution, every single feature, and I'm not going to count this last year or even the 2024 festival, just because some of those films are still on the circuit, right? Or some of them are still finalizing their deals. But every single feature we've ever programmed prior to that so far have been picked up for distribution.
Wow.
Every single one. So not every festival can say that. So like that is going to happen. Some of them have been smaller ones, some of them have been with big ones. And so we might know a little bit about something that's going on there. And as more distributors are now starting to discover that we have films that are being picked up, more distributors are reaching out and wanting to become a part of it.
1,000%. Yep.
And so that takes work, that takes time. And but coming back to it is, but a lot of these distributors don't necessarily have money either. Right. And so like, yeah, you might only get one or two offers and they have good taste, but they're playing in a different sandbox than the biggest we want. And then to come into the things that we're flipping at, there's a really great film researcher named Stephen Follows. He is fantastic. I almost don't want to share it with people because he's so good. I feel like it's got like a secret weapon there, right? And in fact, he just sent out an email today because he just launched a YouTube channel now, right? Wow. And he's so good, and he just did this, and I don't want to misquote it, but he just analyzed what actually sells a movie. And he got the data from distributors saying, well, this is what we look for when we buy. And number one was a name.
Right, of course.
Right?
Always been like this.
But then when it came down to the 7 things that actually sell the movies and that people are clicking play and watching it, nowhere in the top 7 were stars.
Wow.
So what's that tell you? I can't tell you 100%, but what it's kind of maybe telling you is like maybe distributors and sales reps and all that actually don't know what's selling.
But that the market is shifting and changing in the last 10, 15 years, that is so obvious. And maybe distributors didn't get it. Hollywood is changing. With the event of YouTube and YouTubers, super mega ultra famous YouTuber, influencer, the new generation that are very young, they actually care much, much, much less than what we did about the movie stars. They have so many other interests. Their interest is like so quick and so much different. I don't know if you're aware that there is at the movie theater right now
Iron Lung?
A movie about a YouTuber that is super famous and he's doing a lot of money in the theater. And I kid you not, there are some distribution and people that work in big studios that are not happy about it.
Of course they're not happy about
because they see a transaction that should not happen. A YouTuber make a feature film and make money in the movie theater. They don't like the idea. But it's absurd for me. Because if it's organic, he need to be happen. There is nothing, I repeat, there is nothing that you can do to stop this. Nothing. No,
I mean, because at the end of the day, he went to the cinemas himself, right? Which is, in certain nations, you could already do this. And I'm not saying we don't need distributors.
Right.
I believe there's a lot, especially good distributors, bring to the table. And
1,000%. Because sometimes the distribution is actually the most important part and why there is an audience. Think about Miramax in the beginning. Now A24. There are really people and young people that they watch movie just because an A24 movie.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous for me.
Exactly.
I had a lot of fights with these kids, but there are some kids that say, no, I watch this because an A24, and so they trust the brand.
You know, it's funny you bring up the A24. I was talking to somebody a few years ago, and they were looking for films to maybe scout out. And they're like, well, what can you tell me about the films in the space right now? And I said, well, a lot of films are starting to look like A24 films. They're like, really? That's great. They didn't realize I was actually not being complimentary. And that's not because, look, I appreciate a film that looks like that. Like, that's not me saying that. But what I'm saying is, like, nobody's being unique. Nobody's coming out with a unique voice. Nobody is being.
If you go so strong with a style, looking for a style to be recognized,
you're copying. So how do you separate yourself? And so a lot of people are actually like looking at the same thing, and now it's become homogenized. It's the same. And so how can you distinguish yourself if your stuff looks exactly the same and even has the same vibe, or maybe even some instances the same story, or sometimes you're straight up lifting it, as all the other stuff that you saw in A24? I mean, right now, you know, I just saw an article about, you know, what digital cinema is doing. And we're seeing it. I mean, I remember when I saw Wicked, and I couldn't put my finger on it until finally I kind of did. I didn't think the first Wicked was all that great. I thought it was just okay. But there was something about it that just felt so flat. I couldn't understand what it was. My brain just wasn't thinking that way. But I've seen some since, in particular, this article where they went for like these desaturated hues instead of like being something really vibrant like Oz would be. Does it still look good? Yeah, it still looks good. But there's this real lack of personality that's there. There's no real strong director's voice or vision. You know, people could say what they want to say about J.J. Abrams with Star Trek and the lens flares in the first one, but it gave it a totally different look from any Star Trek before. It gave it a totally different look from a lot of the blockbusters that were out at that time. And I mean, I'm going to be honest, I didn't mind it. I didn't even notice it really. I enjoyed the film so much that it wasn't there. Obviously, looking at it now and analyzing it and putting that into it still doesn't bother me. I feel like that's almost more like a fanboy like criticism, you know, like lens flares. It's like, so like that's the world that he built, but he built a world. He built something that was rich in color and saturated, and there was dynamic framing, and there was dynamic movement. You felt like it was like this actual, you know, 25th century that we're in. And, you know, whether you love the movie or not, whatever, right? But there was effort there. And now I just feel like a lot of filmmakers are just leaning onto the crux of digital cinema, where so many films just feel flat, instead of taking their time to make something look like what it has intention and purpose. Like when you shot on film, for example, and I think this answers a little bit, and I'm trying to still answer your kind of question about why we're so bored with it, is just like what are some of the films that we could watch all the time? And it's not just because they're great filmmakers, right? Is like Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, you compare Star Wars to Empire Strikes Back. The original Star Wars is not incredibly photographed. It's iconic because of a lot of the effects and the way the effects were photographed. But if you actually look at the way the film was photographed, it looks great and rich because it's on film. But like Empire Strikes Back is a huge leap forward in terms of the cinematography and the dynamic storytelling happening within the frame and things like that. But part of this is because these things are with intention, right? They storyboarded it. They blocked it. They went in. There was a plan before they set up each shot. Digital cinema has created this world where it's like, well, now I got to rush and get it done. Now I got to do this. Oh, we got to make our day and all that. Well, where's the voice? Where's the visual language? I understand, you know, the limitations of budget and things like that. But I remember when I went and did my first short, Comatose Mother, that I mentioned, and I had it all. I storyboard every single one of my projects, and I remember the DP came to me and he was all like, "Whoa, this is like a real project. Like this is real." Like it, like kind of intimidated him. And I remember that I was in color with somebody, and I guess he thought it was like some badge of honor or something like that. And he's like, "Yeah, I heard you had storyboards on this and everything." He's like, "Yeah, I feel storyboards are really limiting and, you know, keeps you from being free." And I was just like, that's, I guess, your opinion, man. You know what I mean? Like, I never felt that. Storyboards let me know that I'm getting my story right here, and it lets me know that this is working, and that when I go into the edit, that I've already got the film, and now I'm going through. I mean, Hitchcock's favorite process of the entire filmmaking process was storyboarding.
1000%.
And so it's one of those things where I feel like even modern filmmakers, they're kind of where I can't speak to everybody because I'm not there with them, but I feel like a lot of people are they're shortchanging themselves by shortchanging the process. And yes, it's intimidating. I don't know that many storyboard artists. Yes, it costs money and all that. And I'm not going to sit here and say if I'm a proponent for AI or not. I'm not really. But there are tools that are available, and I don't want to put anybody out of work. I don't believe in putting people out of work. But
it helps.
But I get it. I get it. If you are a completely poor, broke filmmaker or somebody trying to just do it and you don't know anybody, and all of a sudden there's a program that you could put your screenplay into and it'll create storyboards for you, in 5 minutes.
And this is funny that you say that, because I think from people that make movies from all their life and they're so much into movies, you can actually tell watching a movie if there is a storyboard behind or not. Because think about it. Think about Matrix. Come on, watching the movie, 1000% there is a storyboard behind.
Oh, yeah.
The framing, how the scenes have a transition in another scene. You can tell that there is a storyboard behind, and the movement are being mechanically pushed to go in that direction. You're absolutely right.
It's intentional filmmaking. And I think some people might be listening and be like, well, what do you mean by intentional filmmaking? No, I mean intentional filmmaking. Like everything that you're doing has intention.
Right.
Like from the storyboarding, from how are you going to light this? Like what's the style? Are we going to go for something that's more... For me, I have things that are a little bit more... I like saturated imagery. I like things that almost have a touch of giallo into it, right? And I kind of accidentally fell into that. I didn't really know what giallo was when I did my first short, right? But I always liked that rich color, something that felt hyper real.
And that is a very important point, because intention doesn't necessarily mean a meaning in the script, a obvious, plot behind. An intention can be just an intention, but clear intention that goes visually somewhere. Take David Lynch, for example. A lot of time we're confused what the story is, but the intention is always clear, so clear where he gonna go.
Yeah.
And if you love the intention of David Lynch, you become a David Lynch, fun boy, because you love that style and his intention of filmmaking.
Well, and the choice, right? Like, look, everything's a choice. Rushing a production's a choice. You know what I mean? Well, I had no choice. No, you had a choice. There are many choices that led you to that. And I've been there. When I've had to rush things, right? And certain things happen. And, it's not always the most fun, but getting more coverage, things like that. I mean, that's one of the big tricks, right? How do you get more coverage? Well, you oftentimes need more money or more days, or I should say. But that's one of those things that make your film look bigger, is having a lot of dynamic coverage. Now, a lot of people are making films that are just like, oh, we got to rush through this, and then you feel it. You go and you do, but intention comes back to the costume choices, like why they wear these things. What does that look like? It's not just your actor showing up and being like, yeah, I like that. You know what I mean? It's actually going in and making these conscious decisions. But there's another factor in all that, and that's knowing your audience before you begin making the film, right? A lot of people and a lot of us like, hey, I make films that I make films for me. I think we all do, right? But also, you need to go in with an intention for your audience. One of the things that we did at FilmQuest this last fall was we really expanded our labs into what we called Camp Cthulhu. And one of the labs they're both FilmQuest alumni that have now fallen, and they're pretty big up in the marketing world for motion pictures, working with major studios and major streamers. And one of the topic that they created was, it was about a 2-hour lab, could have kept going on. People loved it, raved on it. I'm going to try and bring them back for it. Was this idea of intention, and it's making a film for your audience and then marketing that film for your audience. Like, let's be real. There is no film that exists except for maybe the moon landing. But even then, we know that there's people who've never had a TV and all that. There's no film that exists that everybody has ever seen, ever. So once we establish that the film you're going to make is not going to be seen by everybody in the world. I want my film to be seen by as many people as possible. You do too. But that's an impossibility. Never going to happen. And so
That create an audience.
Yeah, right. So now, okay, now that I know that, that's actually liberating, because now it's like, okay, wait a minute. Let's just make a hypothetical. I want to make a film for a midnight crowd. Okay, I'm making a midnight movie. Okay, what's that look like? What's that look like in terms of how do I make it? But what's that going to look like on screen? What do I do from there? Now you have those choices that you can kind of go from that. And now that I've made the film, knowing who my audience is, now how do I market to that audience, right? And then there's distributors that specifically look for those films, right? But you could start a film before you even start writing page one. Ask yourself, who is this for? Who do I want to sell this to? What's my dream? Yes, we all dream of Netflix now. Yes, we all dream of Warner Brothers. Well, wait a minute, it's the same. Paramount, Universal, all of them, right?
Apple TV,
right. But we all dream of these things, right? But if you come in with the approach also and be more realistic, like, well, hey, I want something that's for Shudder. Okay, now do your homework on what's on Shudder. All right, now how do you stand out? Even though you could still have your voice and be different from everybody else, how do you stand out and do all that? And now that you've done it, and now you figure out, do I take this out to festivals? What type of festivals? Now that I've done festivals, do I do a road show? If I'm going to self-distribute, do I do a road show and book midnight screenings? And I go to like the type of crowds that would love Rocky Horror Picture Show, right? Like, how do you find that audience? And it all comes back to what we just said, that I word, intention, having intentional filmmaking. And that's, without saying like, when we program the festival, there's intention to what we're doing. But maybe that's in part what we're looking at too, is we're looking for those films that we're programming that were clearly made with that intention.
Coming back to your festival in particular, that I love it so much, one of the things very interesting for me that I don't even know if I'm able to explain exactly what it is, the feeling, is because it can be misunderstood a little bit as well. I had a feeling that there was a family vibe in the festival, but not a family vibe on the sense of, it's an amateur way of bringing things. No, a real genuine film lovers kind of family. And that it's priceless for a person that did films and watched films all his life, right? All my life I watched film, I was on set. For me, it automatically bring a light because I can feel it is organic. So again, I'm not able to explain 100% what is this feeling. So if you can, and if you understood what I mean, if you can tell us, how did you achieve this incredible movie making family atmosphere that there is at the festival, that you feel part of it immediately when you step in? It's definitely intentional. Like, that's something that we've always built. For a while, we still kind of have it, but we don't emphasize it as much as we used to, just because it kind of got out more and more, was we'd have hashtag We Are FilmQuest. And once upon a time when people do interviews, we'd ask them to say, We Are FilmQuest. Like this, it's this idea that we're stronger together than separately. And, as I've observed people through the past, just through the festival circuits, just through other things aside from FilmQuest, is the ones who are always kind of more lone wolfy. And not that I've been a lone wolf at times and stuff like that, but those who aren't really embracing the experience and all that, most don't get very far. Most you don't hear about ever again. But what we've done is, and I believe a lot of it begins first and foremost with the curation. And once you're programmed, we send out emails every week. We're bringing everybody in and letting you know, like, hey, week one, we host a big alumni party in LA that's also for all the new filmmakers, because there's so many people from LA. So it's actually easier for us to do one down there. So we go out and we host a big house party where everybody's invited. And they just get to meet each other. There's name tags. They get to socialize, all that. I also think that quality, once people start to see their films and once they're coming in, there's a reputation that we've already built that people know, like, no, this is like a film camp. This is a really cool vibe. And we have Jana, who's welcoming people in at check-in, from our volunteers to our staff, I think, to Provo and the community itself. There's like a warmth here that it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm put off that you're here. No, we are actually very excited that you're there with us. We can't wait for you to spend
hopefully the entire festival. It's 10 days, but you know, I hope you could spend all 10 days. If you can't spend 10 days, I hope it's 3 days. I hope it's 5 days. I hope it's 6 days. Look at all these cool things that we've got going on. Then you start to see the films. And I've been there, maybe you've been there, I'm sure others have been there, is I've been to festivals where as you start seeing the films that are there, and I'm not saying I've made good films. That's for other people to decide. I think they're good, but, you know, I think they've done well and stuff, but that's for audiences and other people to decide what they're into. And, but I've been to festivals where you're like, okay, is my film the only good one, or do I suck? Like, does my film suck too? Because everything I'm seeing is not good. And what happens when that happens is, and you know, it's just the truth is, you become less excited to meet everybody. Now that everybody else that you're meeting with, you're like, I don't really want to collaborate with you. Like, yeah, we could be Facebook friends and stuff like that, but I don't, like, I'm probably not going to see you at another festival, or maybe I will, but I'm going to meet other people, right? And I know that sounds harsh. But that's the reality of it sometimes. That's just the reality. I mean, we still have a velvet rope industry. And whether that means you get in with somebody's circle of friends, you know I've been left out. I'm probably guilty of leaving other people out over the years. But not at FilmQuest. And so at FilmQuest, when you get in, the quality is there where the question you're asking yourself now is, where you thought you were the best, you're now questioning, am I the worst? Right? And even though that's not the case, because everything's so good, you are now with your peers. You're with your tribe. You are with your people. And so that helps people just check that pretension at the door.
That's right.
Like, it's just like, we are here together.
And the fact that it's a general film festival, that helps too, because these are your people, you know, you're not mixing with people that you're not interested at all. Because honestly, there are some filmmakers that they only like to go in one direction, producing some movies or watching. So here we are all the same people, and that helps so much.
Absolutely. Genre festivals are the best festivals. They have the genre industry itself. Yeah, there's competition. Yeah, there's things like that go on. But genre is, we're all in it because we all love similar things, right? We all probably bought toys and played with toys. We all probably played video games. We all probably read weird books. We're all probably into, whether we're into the exact same things or not, there's all something there that we're all into that makes us geeky and nerdy. We're into practical effects. We're into visual effects, right? Like, there's like the nerdier side of the industry we're all kind of into. Like, a lot of us, especially right now, a lot of us were 80s kids. A lot of us were, and if you're a 90s kid, you were probably into Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark and things like that, right? Like, these are the factors that come in, but we all relate to that. And even if you're 50s, you're still like a big kid, or maybe even your 60s, right? We've all been connected by this thing. Well, if you go to like a documentary festival, or if you go to like an all films type of festival, you'll notice that you're kind of like treated differently by everybody else when you're the genre people. From that, like, they look down at you, or they kind of treat you like whatever. So there's definitely that factors into it. But it's also all are welcome, whether you're a filmmaker there with a film, or volunteer, or an audience member with a paying ticket or pass. Like, no, come party with us. Right. Come to our events. Come be a part of it. Participate. The Q&As, everybody's going to get equal time on the Q&A. You know, sometimes people think like, oh, wait a minute, like the feature film should get more than this. It's like, no. You all get equal.
Maybe the fact that in Utah there are the nicest people in the planet that influence the festival.
Yeah. No, there is something different. I mean, when people come in, I hear it from multiple people, many people who have nothing connected here. And I'm not going to get into the religious side of things, but like, a lot of people come in, they're like, what is it that's different about Provo? And many people have said this same phrase to me. There's like a spirit here.
No, that's right.
And like, there's just something different.
I am one of these because I'm not from here, and I can feel a magic vibration coming from all these mountains that are all around you. You know, there are vibration, a color, a spirit. You can name it whatever you feel, but it's definitely here. Yeah. And I'm sure the pioneers, when they come here for the first time, they felt that as well. And they said, you know what? Yeah. It will be full of people, and there will be a big community here. And they had nothing in front of them, and here we are. So many years
exactly.
Later,
and that's not saying that there's not imperfections and things around the corner and the dark corners, right? But like, no, there is something. And when they come here, we're setting you up with the best of Provo. You know, everything that we do is built around getting you together and working together.
I love it.
And, you know, what's crazy was when we did our Midnight Madness, and we were doing the Q&A, I didn't realize this. I just didn't even think about this. At least half the filmmakers that got up there, because it's a legendary event, the Midnight Madness, legendary. And I say this, and I know I put on the event, but it has truly become
legendary. I agree.
And especially like the last 3 years. But as they were going through the Q&A talking about why they made the movie and how it was, over half of them said, I made this movie specifically to be at Midnight Madness at FilmQuest this year. After I was at Midnight Madness the year before, I had to make a movie just to be here for this. And all of a sudden I realized, like, oh my goodness, like every single one of these people are like alumni almost up here. And they all made a movie just to be here this fall. And they got all together to do that. Even they were rushing to get in.
What a crazy creative motivation. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And so we see that. So many people get together. It's fantastic.
And I love it. And now the $1 million, question is, do you think that size of the festival matter? Meaning, do you think that you can do a humongous big festival and keep this family feeling that we all feel when we come at?
I think so. Yes, I think so. But you have to be very careful. Because we are at a certain point now where we do need to grow. It's fun that I love the venue that we're in. I think it's part of the rock and roll atmosphere, but we can only fit 150. And we're getting to the point now where like we have more than that just in filmmakers attending. We need to get locals being more participation. So, we are planning on more venues. But part of the key is, I think it's keeping things centralized, right? Like, how do we keep people from, like, part of the pleasure and the joy of the festival is that it's on you if you don't meet anybody. And yes, you might not meet everybody, but we put you into so many opportunities that you can meet everybody. And so I think as long as we could keep those opportunities and vision at play, yes, we can, right? Whether that's 3-4 venues, whether that's bouncing around a little bit more around town a little bit. But as long as that core community is able to, because we want more audience to come. There's a 700-seat venue in downtown Provo. And we want to, our very first year in Provo, because it was in year 4 that we moved to Provo. And I remember the headline that said, FilmQuest comes to Provo not to get smaller, but to get bigger. And, I'm going to throw down a gauntlet. I don't care what, people like. There's this rivalry between Salt Lake and Provo in Utah. Provo is better, and there's just no question about that. No question. And I know that Salt Lakers will look at me and all that, and it's just like, I have tales to tell.
Come on, Provo is not a LA wannabe.
Yeah.
I just want to say this.
No, it's not. And there is a unique thing here, but you've got to know where to look for it. I will say that. No, there's obviously more to do in Salt Lake, but in terms of a vibe, we've got a very different vibe
and
here.
Personality.
Yeah.
I love the fact, and this is a personal opinion, I love the fact that Provo for me feels like a small little town, but at the same time it's not a small town at all, because there are so many students, because there is BYU that is this humongous university here. It's not a small town at all. And what I mean is you can go to a coffee place and do whatever you want, and there is not this gossip that usually there is in small town. There is no gossip at all, but at the same time there is a promenade in Central Street that feel like a small town, and these shops that are unique. And it's beautiful.
Well, and people forget too, like when a lot of people come in, it feels like they're coming home, because I think sometimes the big cities I did come from a big city originally. Houston's a pretty big city, but a lot of people come from just mid-sized towns or small towns and stuff, and then they move to a big city. So there's a sense of kind of coming home to it. Provo is the second largest city in Utah, and it's the economic hub of all of Utah Valley, and it is very different from Salt Lake. But the kind of point I'm getting at is like, but if you're not from Utah, you don't care about the rivalry.
Absolutely.
Like, that doesn't matter to you. You're coming for a good time. So we are putting a lot of the best of Provo in the experience for people and keeping it very localized. I think that helps as well for creating this family experience. And also, I think that's what's going to allow us, as it gets bigger and things grow, for us to keep it. But that's the key component there. And I'm glad you asked that question, because I think myself, I've been kind of trying to figure out how to articulate it exactly. But it is that centralized key as to what it is. I think the more that we keep it there, the better it's going to be.
And I met filmmakers from everywhere, from Italy, from Germany, from Japan, from everywhere. And they all told me the same exact thing. They love it here. And they love the venue, and they love the small town vibe, even if it's not a small town. And so they're extremely happy that he's been in a place like this rather than the usual Los Angeles, New York, Miami. I think as a big personality for a genre festival, it's perfection.
Oh yeah. And I mean, and when we talk about a couple of these other venues and things that we're looking at, they're no more than like a 8-minute walk away, right? And if you had a car and you happen to go there, it'd be a 1-minute drive, right? Like all within the centralized town. So even as that comes, and it's inevitable that there's going to be that. We just want to make sure before we go into like a 700 seat space, because we'd still have velour that we're rocking. We just want to make sure that at least like 500 ticket buyers are going to buy tickets there. You know what I mean? We want to make sure that the audience is still coming out and discovering it. So it's not the 700 seat venue that only has 150 people.
Right.
Then it feels empty. And I think that's another part. There is an intimacy to the venue.
Yes.
There's an intimacy to the parties, even though it's deceptively bigger than people realize. I mean, I've gone to festivals that are hosted at the Draft House, and I remember the first time I was like, "This is awesome! I'm going to the Draft House." And you get in the cinema, and the screen you're playing, and it's like 40 seats. You know what I mean? You're like, wait a minute. There's only like 40 people that could even sit in here, Or it feels like a big megaplex, and you look around. Like I remember we went down to one in Austin, not a Draft House, but it was called like a Galaxy Theater. And I'm like looking around, I'm like, there's only 70 seats here. So even though it's sold out, like it's only like, I was like, this isn't that many people actually.
Absolutely.
And then it doesn't feel as alive because it's like 6 seats a row. And you're separated by these barriers because they have the lounge chairs and all that. There's this sense of like you're almost at a rock concert when you're at FilmQuest, and I believe that really factors in on many things that make that experience that's wholly unique, I believe, on the festival circuit.
Absolutely. And talking about sold out as well, that's another problematic of big festivals, that sometimes even the biggest festival that they're so famous, but still you're going back to the festival and it's always sold out. Every event that they do, that is very uncomfortable because you're thinking, why am I here if every single event that I go is sold out? And this is a problem that how do you avoid that?
I mean,
growing so crazy.
Good problems, right?
But it's a good problem, but still a problem.
Yeah, no, it's still a problem. I think you have to have some allocation there, and I think a lot of festivals do that. But one of the questions, coming to personality, because you have to ask is, well, did those festivals ever have much of a personality to begin with? And if they did, at what point did they lose it, right? And I don't want to dog on Sundance, because Sundance is still a wonderful event, despite whatever flaw or perceived flaw or things that they've done right or wrong. There's still all that going on. But
and their personal opinion that they like more something than another one.
Yeah. But there's definitely something got lost there, like. At this past Sundance, I kid you not, we ran into minimum 50 FilmQuest alumni.
Wow.
And you know what I found out? They were all hanging out with each other. They were all going to the parties with each other.
I love it.
They were all going in with that. So at what point and I can't speak to everybody that comes to Sundance, but I've never heard of that happening through Sundance alum. I've never heard of that happening with, or even seen it with AFI alum.
That's right.
I've never seen it from these other festivals. And yet here we were, I'm going through, I felt like I was being inundated. I'd turn a corner and then they were. I'd go into an event, there you are. They're like, oh yeah, so-and-so is here. And then I'd run into them, right? And then we'd all say hi and they're all
community inside a community.
Yeah. And that was really interesting to kind of see and observe. And it's not tooting the horn of FilmQuest, because I think we've made the point there, right? But But I asked that about other events and getting too big. And I wonder, like, I never want to be at the point where, like, let's say, like, with Sundance, well, how many events are there? 50, 60, plus all the screenings going on at the same time?
So many.
Like, the way I envision it is, like, okay, if we got bigger and suddenly we had 5 screens, this isn't an opportunity to triple our programming. This is an opportunity to ensure the people that maybe could only come for 2 days in the past, they're coming for 10 days now. And now you can see every film, and you could choose a venue to be like your hub. But like what's happening over here, it's okay if you're not there because tomorrow you can experience this there, but all the same people are going to be there. Does that make sense?
Make absolutely sense. And
so,
give alternatives. So if it's sold out, there are still 2-3 things that you can do.
Yes, and still mingle with everybody and see all that. So it's not too much. So the idea is that there would never be more than 4 things happening at the same time, including the screenings, right? Like my perfect world is like I want to get to the point where every film is screening twice. And then I want to get to the point where everything's screening 3 times.
100%.
And that there is a world where no matter where you came at the time, you will never miss your premiere.
I agree 1000%.
So these are the things that I want to look at, like mathematically, logistically, all that, because I want this to be something that, yes, I want it to grow. We are in a very interesting position with Sundance leaving and we are in some interesting dialogues and discussions right now that we really can expand the festival, and we could do it very dramatically. But we're also looking at like, how can we turn this into year-long activities, events? I don't want to say too much, like we have the market now going on.
Right.
I can say this, we are exploring lab and institute opportunities year-round. We're looking at special screening events, right? With not like, oh, that's a film for a 75-year-old white person that I've never heard of before, right? Like, no. Can we get Guillermo del Toro out here to do an evening with Guillermo? Can we do an evening with Alfonso Cuarón? Can we do an evening with Ron Howard, right? And do that here in Provo. I mean, we have a 700-seat venue that would sell out every night with that. What does that look like? How do we make that happen? We are very actively looking at other things of expanding that
and to remember that these are filmmakers as well, so they will love the atmosphere that you create. They will love that there are so many people that they care so much for the genre. Can you imagine Tarantino around this festival? He will love to be surrounded by these people.
And all he has to do is come. Like, I'm a big believer that all you have to do is drink the Kool-Aid.
Right.
Just come in and you're going to see. You are going to see the difference the moment you step in. And I remember Doug Jones, he was at the very first festival. I got him to come on out. And then he came out for the 10th anniversary. And I was like, Doug, you just come. And he's like, okay, I'm coming. And then he's like, how many days? I was like, well, I'd like you to be there for like 5, right? Because we're going to do like an event and all that. And he was like, okay, like all that. And then he admitted during his lab that we had to do, it was so packed, standing room only, we had to do 2 of them. And over 2 days, and he ended up admitting, he's like, I'm going to be honest, I thought nobody was going to be here. And I was like, Dougie, you should know better. You know me, right? Like, I wouldn't have brought you out. But he's like, I really did. And he's like, this is amazing. And then he ended up proceeding to say, like, this is the best film festival I've ever been to. And I've never been to a festival that I liked everything. Everything was good. And that was in year 10.
Feeling.
Well, and to that point, our grand prize winner in 2024, I'm Not a Robot, won the Oscar for live action short.
Wow.
And then this year, our grand prize winner, The Singers, which is really magical realism. So yeah, we brought in, we are very broad in what genre can be and should be. And then our best foreign short winner, Two People Exchanging Saliva, both of those shorts are nominated for the Oscar right now. So we have a 40% chance of having back-to-back winners. And so the reapplication process begins. We were almost accepted in 2024. We didn't get it. And all we've done is come back with a winner and maybe another winner, but at least 3 nominees of the 10. So we feel very, very confident we're going to be an Oscar qualifying festival this year. And that would apply, if we get it, it would apply for this fall. And so these are real interesting times, and that's going to create more growth.
Yeah, that would be one more reason why to come.
And exactly. So because I believe we're only at the point, believe it or not, of all the programming of how many are attending. We're only getting maybe, which is still a huge number. Believe me, over 500 from out of state. That's huge. Crazy. That is a huge amount. Yeah. But that's why we don't worry too much about selling tickets. But we want now the locals with all this kind of going on. That's another thing. We're still only capturing maybe about 60% representation of the films attending the film with at least one person representing. Like that would probably take it to 80%. So what's that going to look like there? Yeah, big step. But we're still going to rock it the way that we do it, the FilmQuest way.
Absolutely. That's the focus.
Yeah.
And also, you already answered a little bit and touched a little bit one of the questions that I was keeping for the last, but let's go there. Do you think that with the exit of Sundance from Utah, you have almost a responsibility with FilmQuest to grow and to make something bigger? Like you said, maybe some program and something happening the whole year around. You know, do you feel this? Do you think that this is gonna happen no matter what, or is something that you need to work on it anyway?
All the above. It's a good question. All the above. I don't think I want to say that I've ever felt a sense of responsibility, but I have felt a sense of, for the last couple of years, of like, I feel like that we're on the trajectory. And there's other great festivals and great people here, but none of them have done what we've done. And none of them have built the accolades. None of them have built the reputations. Like, I really feel that we've built the festival right. And when we've made mistakes, we've listened on those. And we want to improve, and we want to find ways. Like, you know, I wouldn't call it a big mistake, but, you know, there's things that I observed this last fall that I was like, okay, that nobody would really know except for the team. And it's like, okay, I want to improve this. I want to make this better now. I want to figure out how can we actually give, for example, more of a gap between blocks. But to come back to your question is, yeah, because look, if we don't step up to the plate, then somebody else will try.
1000%.
And I already know people are they're posturing, they're doing their social media posturing. They're saying they're calling the next Sundance. And let me be very clear, I don't want to be the next Sundance.
That's right.
We're FilmQuest. That's who we are. That's our brand. That's what we bring to the table. We don't need Sundance because you've got FilmQuest. That's our philosophy.
I agree 1000%.
Like,
because in fact, I like FilmQuest more than Sundance.
Well, thank you.
I'm open to say that.
Yeah.
If I go to Sundance like 15 years, my experience at FilmQuest was better because it was more genuine filmmaking, and I love it so much.
Accessible. You know, that's one of our keywords, especially with the market. And when we announced the market, that was strategic. We co-partnered with the co-founder of Slamdance, John Fitzgerald, brings some clout, all that. But we announced that in November and at the Closing Night Awards because that's positioning. Yes, that was strategic. We want people to know, no, there's a bigger plan here and we're leading the way. I think...
and it's not easy to explain. Sometimes I had this argue with a lot of other people and a lot of other filmmakers or people that love to go to Sundance every single year. And my end conversation was always the same with all of them, was like, you know what, come to FilmQuest next year and figure out for yourself. Because I can't explain you more if you are not open to absorb what I'm saying and you are like open to understand what I mean. So just come to FilmQuest next year and you will see it by yourself.
Thank you for doing that. No, that's exactly how it is. You know, like after this, you know, there's a pretty big executive, former executive of Disney that actually lives here. And he came out to FilmQuest the first time and he wanted a meeting a couple weeks later because everything he saw was so good. So good. He wants to partner with us for some cool things moving forward. In fact, I just had a meeting 2 hours before I came over here. I was having a meeting about that very thing. And in fact, we're moving our offices into their soundstage that's here in Provo. A lot of people don't know that there's a big soundstage in Provo.
Wow. What is it?
And it's in North Provo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Pretty cool. It's near the canyon at the Riverwoods.
I love it.
And so, yeah. So a lot of people don't know it's actually the second largest soundstage in Utah now. Wow. And it's actually been there for 25 years, but it hasn't been operating for the last 15.
Oh, I understand what
you might know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Yeah. And now it's back.
Yep.
And in force. And so what's happening is this is what's kind of going on. There's legitimate people coming. They're paying attention. I mean, Sean Gunn gave us a huge shout out and the way that he tweeted it, he said FilmQuest remains undefeated as basically the coolest of the cool and like the edgiest of the edgy and the undergroundiest of the undergroundiest, you know, festivals there. And you know, I hear from a lot of filmmakers when they go to another festival, you know, they'll tell me, they're like, I got a text about one and I won't name the festival, but they were like, hey man, I just wanted you to know, like, I went to this festival and it was a huge letdown. It just wasn't like FilmQuest. Or they'll tell me like, hey, this film festival is really cool. It was like FilmQuest. You know what I mean? Like, I don't hear people ever say like, it was like Sundance. I hear them say, oh, it was like FilmQuest. It was like this, like coming on in. And it's such a compliment. And, and there's a day that
It is.
I want to step down one day. I'll still be involved. I just want to Robert Redford the thing. Right?
Yes.
What I mean? Like now
And it's an organic transition.
Yeah.
I can see it.
It comes in. I mean, it's now year 13. I have a teenager in the house now, and the teenager has different needs and wants. It's going through puberty. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like we forget that we have a fully grown thing. But to come back to it is like, yes, there is a conscious decision that we want to be the standard bearer. We want to be the torchbearer. I know there's other festivals and events that are awesome. Festivals like Fantasia, festivals like Fantastic Fest. These are incredible festivals that have ran for 20 plus years. Fantasia, 30 years. We're only in year 13, but I believe we've had growth that, save only a handful of festivals, is very unique in this industry and in the world of festivals. And it is my intention that by year 15, there's no question that we're one of the 5 genre festivals, and I want to argue one of the 30 festivals in the world that you have to be a part of, regardless
that have
of
a
genre.
meaning. That have a meaning. That you
Yeah.
go to a film festival and you got an experience rather than just a film festival. I agree 1000%.
And is there a world? Nothing's imperative. Is there a world where we expand FilmQuest beyond genre? I mean, I'd be lying if I said we haven't discussed that. Right. I think we could do that if we wanted to, but FilmQuest as a genre fest would always be FilmQuest the genre fest. That would be the tentpole of it. It would be the other that is taking the back door to it, and there would always be the focus on genre. And I don't see FilmQuest ever changing from what it is from the genre side. If we ever did something like that, it would almost be like we're running 2 festivals, but at the same time. Oh, here's the cool, pretentious stuff that's still good and still rad with cool filmmakers. But like,
here is the bonus, guys.
And those screen at those cinemas, and then FilmQuest midnight, like is over here for 10 days.
Let's go.
Same programming, same all that. And now it's a big program guide. But I'm bringing up a program guide. I mean, that's one of the things, right? Like, film festivals aren't even doing program guides anymore that you could get, physical program guides, and we still print them and make those done because that's part of the experience. That's part of the whole festivity of this. And I get that they're cutting budget, but I was like, that's part of the things that to me are a non-negotiable. I know that, yes, we could save money and put it over here and all that, but it's like, these are the things like the swag bag, the program guide, the trophy that we do, like all these things, those are fixed expenditures that we have to do every year because that is part of the experience and putting you and elevating the filmmaker. And I think that's one of the other things too, is you feel that you're the main event and you are equal. And I think that's what it comes down to. Oh, don't get me wrong. Like if I got somebody there that I'm really pleased that was tough to get there or something, not necessarily the filmmaker, but like maybe a star or something like that, I'm gonna make sure they have a good time,
right?
Like they're definitely gonna have a good time, but I still want to introduce you to these filmmakers. I still want you to, hey, such and such, meet this person. Hey, you need to come and see this movie, come on in. Because look, at the end of the day, we forget these A-listers, I say A-listers, but these actors they want to know where they're gonna work next. They want to see the movies and all that because now, I mean, Doug Jones, after that festival, got at least a couple jobs because of the filmmakers he met at FilmQuest. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And he made cool films. And he's not worried about making something that's not good because he came to the festival and he saw what was there. And that's what we want to get the word out more and more of. Like, you could work with all these people. These are the discoveries. This is where it's going to happen. These are the people, if you let it happen, you don't have to worry about flipping through Netflix and finding things you're going to find the good stuff. This is where it's at. This is where you're going to find it.
I am 1000% sure. And now the next question, I really want to I'm really attached to this because it will help me understand as well the festivals much more. And I know that we are already very long, but I don't care at all today about how long are we gonna speak. I don't care. As long you stay here and you have voice and you're capable to answer with your energy, I will take it all.
I will talk FilmQuest all the time.
I love it.
It's my teenager.
So my question is, because you have so much experience in this festival and you made it right, can you help me to understand what are the biggest mistakes that you see in other festivals when you go? Because I can't tell you why I go to other festival and I don't love it as much as I love FilmQuest. So what do you think are the biggest mistakes of other festival, and what are the biggest disappointment of filmmakers that they should try to avoid?
Okay, I'll lead this with, in our rejection letter, and we write a very nice rejection letter, and it's applicable on many aspects of it. But what I say at the end of it is, while your film might not have been right for our festival, there is a festival for every film. And that's probably 80% true, because there are some films that, I'm sorry,
of course,
there's just not
an application. Somebody can even give you a pranks and do a very bad short and send you as a prank.
Right, exactly. but when it gets down to it is a lot of it's the curation. The curation's just not there. Just because you might be a festival that only got 300 films submitted to their festival, right? Which isn't bad. It's actually not a terrible number. Does not mean you need to be a 4 or 5 day festival and you program 100 of those films, right? It does not mean you need to program 150 of those films. Like, the part of the philosophy is, I wouldn't say this is 100% true, but you should have this in your mind with the festival, is you're only as good as the worst film in your lineup. That's how good your lineup is. And what happens though is, some festivals think, oh, we got to get butts in seats. Oh, we got to get people out. So you end up programming a lot of films that aren't that good. And then when they screen, everybody knows it in the audience. They're not going to say it, but they all know it. And so what's that do to the vibe? It comes back to what I was talking about. You don't want to go and mingle the same way. You don't want to collaborate the same way. You feel that. You kind of can't wait to get out of the room. You don't really want to care for the Q&A, stuff like that, right? And there's a vibe that comes from that. So the curation is one of the big, big mistakes. The second is where's the vibe, right? You're trying to do things on the cheap. And I understand not all festivals are built the same way, but it's where's the step and repeat? Do you have a photographer? Does the step and repeat look cheesy, ill-designed? What's your logo look like? What's the cinema space? It's okay. I've had incredible screening experiences in the worst venues and the worst setups, all because the audience really liked the film, right? I've had great experiences on that level. So I know it's not always about the venue. Actually, sometimes too big can be too big. Right? You can't feel the energy of the crowd.
But the logo and the intros, they have such a big personality.
Yeah. You got to have something. And some of these we learned and picked up over time. I'd see another festival doing something really cool. I was like, oh, the festival's not doing everything right, but they did that really cool. And I was like, yoink, I'm going to take that, because that's something that's definitely the vibe and flavor. And we play the trailers in between, right? Get you into it. You feel the energy of the place. There's music. There's atmosphere. I think that's a big part of it too. There's no atmosphere. But again, it comes back to that thing of taste. And, I have my taste. I think I have a fun, unique taste. I think a lot of people have a similar taste and they like what I like. And I know that's why I get along. I make a lot of friends in this space and stuff like that. But at the same time, so my taste is my taste. I'm not going to tell you if it's good or bad. I think it's good, but that doesn't mean I have cheesy things. I don't have cheesy things and things that maybe might be gaudy, in my space and at our home and stuff like that. But coming back to it is, all these things are evolution, but a lot of people have bad taste.
Yeah.
And they just do. And honestly, there's nothing you could do. Because I've had a lot of people I've tried to teach and tell and give advice, and they just keep doing it. It's like they take the good advice and they ignore it.
Or maybe some festivals don't have a taste at all because they don't have a director, an artistic director that go in one precise direction. I never thought about this.
Yeah.
You are a very strong creative direction and you know exactly what is the vision and you work and you check every single movie. But if you do a festival where it's just a collaboration, we're going to take the best of the best, but there is not one person that glue all together and try to give a real clear vibe, then the festival is all over the place. And even if it's good movies, doesn't have a personality and people don't feel the magic that your festival has.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. You bring up something I think is interesting. There was a filmmaker who played this last fall, a really cool, eccentric guy from Romania. And he talented, and he wanted to see some of my work. And he hadn't been to the festival yet. But he made an observation after I sent him like Comatose Mother and one other. His wife made the observation and he agreed, and he sent it over to me in an email, and he said, we noticed that like the style of your filmmaking and the colors and the boldness is a lot like, obviously we haven't experienced FilmQuest yet, but it's a lot like your ads and your marketing and your logo. Very bold, very colorful, very vibrant. And they were like, and I had never really thought of that before, like that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but I have a voice, and
it's your festival.
Yeah, and you're experiencing that voice when you come to FilmQuest, and I think it's fun, and because that's where it is. But I've been to great festivals that don't exist anymore.
Right.
They folded because they were a good festival, but they just couldn't grasp that je ne sais quoi. I mean, one mistake, and I'm thinking of one festival in particular. And I think it's a good festival, but I know the festival directors kind of stopped caring the last year, maybe two, but as much. But they didn't do awards. They did awards, but they didn't do it during the festival. It's like that's the culmination of partly why we're here. Like, well, what is this badge of honor that you think you're doing here? Like, you've got to have awards. Like, in my opinion, it's a bit of a slap in the face to the filmmakers.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, they've paid all this money. If they're local, they might have helped you sell out a screening. You've done all this, and you can't do an award during it? Well, I don't believe in awards, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I'm sorry. That's part of this whole thing. And I've seen festivals do something similar, or they don't treat it like it's there. Or you can tell they're just making up the awards on the spot because they don't have certificates even. Like, you can go and buy cardstock paper, spend an hour. I mean, you could go to places now that have templates for certificates, and you could spend a couple hours and do an award and spend some time creating awards for certificates, just printed on nice cardstock. It'll cost you all of $30, and you can't even do that. You can't take the time. That's another thing like that. Put the time in, put the hours in. Otherwise, I don't think you should be in this game.
Yeah,
there's too many festivals as there is.
Not excuse.
So, yeah.
1000%. But also, I noticed that in your festival there is a incredible good balance between filmmakers and audience. How you design what should we do for the filmmakers, what should we do for the audience, and what do you think is the evolution in this direction? It's going to be 50-50, is already 50-50. What do you think your festival is?
I mean, as more venues come into play and things like that, you're going to have more audience to the filmmakers just because you got to put the butts in seats, get all that. But the way I would like to have it is, because you're just going to feel a different vibe, is if I could keep it to like 60-40. So so for example, if we have 4 venues and they total 1,000 people, right, over the 4 venues, and we're scrolling every 2.5 hours, right? So you start one on the hour, and then by the time screen 4 begins, right? Like, I don't like, that's another thing I have to say I don't like the festivals do. I don't like when they make you choose. I don't like when there's 2 screens with 2 totally different things of programming, and you have to choose between which one you're going to go to. Like, I feel that cheats the filmmakers.
Especially if you know that you're going to lose one of them.
Because now you choose, and now you have to, it's like choosing the filmmakers you have to go support, choosing the film you have to support, and now you've missed out on things, right? Like, FilmQuest, that's what's nice about a single venue, and why I want to keep that, if we expand, is if you came from day 1 and left on day 10, you could see everything. You could see everything in the lineup if you chose. If you don't want to, that's fine.
Right. But you need to have the ability to see absolutely everything from the festival without, we have 2 different movies, we have 2 different panels, and then if they don't rotate, you lost them forever. A lot of festivals do that, and I don't like that either.
Yeah. But it's your choice, right? We did experiment with, and I'll get back to this, is we experimented with kind of overloading our labs this year, because with going into the market, I wanted to see how they go. And to my surprise, pleasant surprise, was there are a lot of filmmakers. I would just always assume filmmakers I wanted to see all the movies. But there were a lot of people there who they loved the labs. And that's all they wanted to do.
Absolutely. And I am one of them, because I think, because I'm a filmmaker, I love labs.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm thinking, wait a minute, but I'm not the normal audience, if there is a normal audience. What is the fair? What is fair to do, you know? Because if there are people that are coming for watch movies, they need the majority of the space as well.
Yeah. I think what you have to do is, it all comes down to logistics again. It's like, okay, we have to have this much for the filmmakers. They have badges, they're here. We know there's this many. So we have to make sure that they're taken care of first. Then we can take care of the audience. Obviously, there were tickets that were put on sale, but now we have to reserve this many just in case, right? And then you got to make some things in. And that all evolves and expands. But in terms of that experience and what have you, I think the 60-40, that kind of ratio for audience to filmmaker, especially if we have 1,000 that we're putting into seats every, like, say 2.5 hours, you know, you start at like 4 p.m. there's a screening, not 4 p.m., 6 p.m. there's a screening, and then the last one would begin at like 6:45, right? But like everybody's flowing in that way. Of the 1,000, if it's 400 filmmakers that are able to get into the screenings versus 600 audience, that would be fine. But if we have 600 filmmakers there at that time with their cast and crew, then you know what? Then we'll only sell 400 tickets to the audience and 600 to the cast and crew.
Yep.
Go that way, right? So we have to kind of vibe that and feel where that's going. You know, these are things that we're evolving and learning, you know, and kind of going from there.
Yeah. And also there is another balance to do that is very important, especially now, is where the technology goes. Meaning, as a festival with technology, at the last technology, there are so many things that you can do. You can put stuff online to do. You can put all your catalog, even for a little bit more, like you did, online. But at the same time, is a weapon, you know, is a double-sided weapon, because if you put too much online, then the question of why should I come in person, and also for a nostalgic person like me, coming in person is always better.
Yeah.
So how do you choose that balance, even if we are going in the future where technology will be so good for festivals?
Yeah. With COVID, we started doing a hybrid, having virtual offerings, and then the last 3 seasons we partnered with something called EOFlix for the virtual, and we had what we called virtual exclusives. There were films that we programmed that some won awards, actually, but they only played on the virtual. But we knew these were from filmmakers that couldn't attend and all that, and what have you. But more and more people are attending, so that's becoming, we can't really do that anymore either. Is what it comes down to is we have we're debating if we're going to keep doing that. And that agreement that we had in place was only for 3 years with EO, and it is a bit of a lot of extra work to do that. It's a lot of people like it, and actually, what was interesting was this was the year I was ready to be done with it once and for all, and then we had the biggest feedback and positive feedback, and more people, you know, participating with that. Especially those that came to the festival that wanted to see all the films that they couldn't, because we let it run another week after. I think if we do something like that, and it's a good question, we might evolve it to where it's like, no, it'll run, but we'll stop. It won't start until like the final weekend of the fest, and then it will run for only a week after. So that way it's not splitting between, you know, no, if you want to come to the festival, there's this. It's a good question. I don't know. Right now, I don't necessarily want to, but I have to be aware of the positive feedback from this one going on this last time. And so, because there was a lot of people that got to see movies that they missed because maybe they missed the first half of the festival, or maybe they wanted to go to the labs. They're like, well, I'll catch that online, type of a thing. I think that's an evolution. Again, I can't answer one way or the other definitively. I know with the market, what we do with the market will not be available virtually. That will definitely have to be something in person.
Right.
And that's going to be a fun offering when we get that kind of locked in. We're getting a better idea every week what we're going to do, and we're hoping that we can answer more to that on the market, because that's definitely a big part of the evolution of this. But I can tell you, like, actionable and actionable opportunity and accessibility I've mentioned that accessibility.
That's right. You need that balance
again,
there.
and so like that's what we want. Where obviously there's going to be a pitch fest. There's going to be access to unproduced screenplays. There's going to be academia into it. There's going to be the party atmosphere of FilmQuest, but that will tie into the market. So if you're there for the market, you now have access to FilmQuest. So you're invited to the events and all that too. That's a one all-inclusive pass type of a thing. So these are part of the evolutions that come into it. But also with the market screenings, the festival itself is a market, but the additional thing for buyers and distributors to come in, and now they can experience that too.
And I know that this is an arrogant question, but do you think that an only online festival can be a good festival, or there is no way?
No. I don't think it could be bad, but I don't think it could be good.
Right.
I just don't. I like. What's the experience?
And I agree with that.
Yeah, like what's the experience? Like, I think there's benefits to it.
Right.
I think awards only events, and people complain about it, but everybody's submitted to like an awards only like thing, right? And then like gotten some accolade or something like that. But like the online only, there's just none that have any clout. There's none that have any legitimacy. I mean, they'll almost for sure never be Oscar qualifying, for example. So where's the prestige in that? And I mean, I think there could be some opportunity, and I think we can't close the book on that. But I don't think, calling it good per se is, I don't know if that's going to be doable.
And it's a difficult question with a difficult answer for sure. But I think that even if we're projected in the future so much, and technology is such a big part that we like as a human so much to evolve in better and better and better, I think there is an organic feel that cannot be avoided for a festival. And this comes from another experience that I'll give you an example, and maybe you can understand better, is that some of the best thing and the best experience I ever did in my life are experience that I had forcing myself to go in person. Like, Leo tonight doesn't want to do this. You know what? I'm going to go because I don't want to do it and see what happened. And surprisingly, it was the best experience of my life.
Right.
So I think in-person festival have some of these that until you go in person and you are open-minded to go in person, to experience in good or bad, whatever you think will be in person, you will never be able to feel the same thing. Because in a digital experience, there is always the case that is very safe. You are there watching something and not be watched. You're untouchable. You're watching a screen. So when you go in a festival in person, there is a little of experience that, and can be a huge experience as well, you're putting yourself in the game.
Yeah.
And that excitement is absolutely one of the things that I love the most in FilmQuest. It's like, all right, I'm going to go to FilmQuest. I had no idea. Don't judge me.
I'm not judging you.
I had no idea. So
I know.
In my brain was going on, what do they know in Provo about movies? Who are going to be these people?
Yeah.
Who are the people that send the movies for a Provo Film Festival? Should I go? Should I not go?
Yeah.
Maybe it's better not go. But again, I push myself and say, no, Leo, you got to go. And I find out my favorite festival of my entire life.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I'm glad you pushed yourself.
And this is unbelievable. Yes.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for coming. No,
This is crazy.
No, keep coming. I think you're going to be richly rewarded. I feel like you might drop there. I don't know what more to say on that one. You know what I mean? No, but what I will say is, this last year we went up to Sundance, and I'm looking at my wife right now. I can see she's getting the hunger eyes. I see it right now. Like, I can see it. Like, she's not going to say it, but I can see it. I know her face. I know, but I see it. But like, so coming back to it she's but we went to Sundance, and Sundance, it had become a bit of a chore.
Yeah.
It always has been.
That's right.
But it's still, we take it for granted.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of the reason why it's leaving Utah, is because we took it for granted, for better or worse. Although what was interesting was I heard it from people. I got the vibe. Other people I was with heard it. There's an AP headline article about it. A lot of people were treating this Sundance like their last Sundance. and they have no intention of going to Colorado. Now I'm like, well, let's see if you get a movie, and then into Sundance, and then we'll see if you want to go to Colorado or not. But it is harder to get to Utah. It's a 10-hour drive to get to Sundance from LA.
Right.
So a day. To get to Boulder, it's 2 days.
Right.
It's a full 2-day drive.
Huge difference.
Fly to Denver, which is a longer flight slightly, and B, now it's 2 hours to drive to Boulder. Once you get into Denver, it's all hassle. So it's, I let Boulder do their thing, but what I was going to say is, I kind of forced myself going to Sundance this year. I was doing some business and stuff.
Same.
And it ended up being, my second favorite Sundance that I ever had. Right. I didn't go to any movies, but all the meetings, the people I ran into, going in, it felt very productive. It was great. It was top 2 in the end for me. And, it's definitely going to be missed, but it's because I pulled myself out and I said, okay, let's go do this and all this. My wife got a little sick because she went up to Sundance and wore the wrong coat. And she's like, say that. No, it's okay. She looked great. She still looked great. She was a babe and going on up with that. But she got a little sniffle from it. You know what I mean? Because it got real cold one day. But you know what? So that was our reward for hustling. No, but it was a great, it was a good way to go off and kind of say goodbye to it in that way. And I hope I get to say to it. But honestly, I'll say it right now, would not be surprised if Sundance came back hat in hand in 5 or 6 years and said, you know what? This Colorado thing ain't working out. And so we'll see.
For me, I am so curious to know, and if I was able to go to the first editions of Sundance and see what they look like. Because for me, the biggest problem I have with Sundance is like, I met so many people that they're even open saying that they're there just to go to the party of Sundance or go to meetings and stuff. Yeah. They don't care about the movies at all and the movie side. And so I can feel it sometimes going to Sundance there. So I feel, I feel almost like I don't have anything to do with that. But in the same time, I do movies all my life. Yeah. How is that possible, So maybe if they're able to bring back this genuine this idea of...
Yeah, I think them going to... Boulder's a college town. So that's going to... my wife was talking about this, Park City has this après-ski vibe, right? Like
party vibe as well.
Yeah, party, this kind of... Western chic, mountain Western chic.
Exclusive.
Yeah, Boulder doesn't quite have that.
Maybe that will help.
And that might change some things. I know some people, we know some people were acting like that's part of the reason they don't want to go to Boulder because it's not exclusive feeling. Which I was like, then
But it's a paradox because exactly what they need.
It's your heart's in the wrong place. But somebody told me something who was there at the very beginning of Sundance, back when it was called the USA Film Festival. But they were there at the very beginning of the labs and the Institute and the origins of Sundance in 1980. And they came out the FilmQuest extensively this last fall. And he wrote me afterwards and said, I have to say, the energy and the vibe that's at FilmQuest, that was what was at Sundance. Like what you have created here is what we felt at Sundance at that time. That's that great. Excitement, all that sort of thing. Wow. And
I would pay gold.
Yeah, right. There. You hear people come on in, and I wish people knew. I wasn't there. I wasn't even born.
Right.
But like that's something I hearing that, from somebody who was apparently there, was very encouraging. And so that tells me let's not change who we are, but how can we get more people to get? How can we build a bigger round table so that all the nights can have a feast at Camelot.
Yeah.
Right?
This legendary midnight projection. Yeah,
exactly. The midnight, the legend, because there were people that we couldn't get in because it was just too packed.
Yeah.
It sucked, but we had to do that.
I love it. And you're so right. These were very iconic. They warmed Provo. There were something like that you're looking forward. This unbelievable that cannot be missed. The last question is, where do you see this festival going? Where is the projection? Where is your dream that you will love to see this festival go?
Okay, I'll throw out some numbers here. So the last 2 years, and I'm okay with saying this because this is technically public record when we deliver our reports and stuff like that. we brought in, this is not what we made. This is what the festival contributed. And I believe this is an underestimate. I believe this is conservative. But in the last 2 years, we brought 1.5 million in economic impact to Provo. And that was
amazing.
Done. Yeah, thank you. And that was done with only $30,000 of civic support.
Wow.
So we believe that we are aggressively pursuing state support and also more civic support and county support on that front. Because we believe with that, we want to get this now. We are at the point, like, I'll be honest, like, my core team, especially me, my wife helps as well, of course, is I do the work of 10 people. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of work. It puts my film career to the side for a solid third of the year. And I can't quite do that the same way. I'll do it as long as I need to, but I can't quite do that, and do certain things that way. And, but we project that with the proper support that we could create a minimum of 30 full-time jobs, probably 50 to 60 once we take in the seasonal things. And that doesn't include, when Sundance counts their numbers, they're counting volunteers, they're counting all that, right? That's the jobs they created, but they're able to pay for some of that too. But we believe that as soon as next year, by the end of 2027, if we get the proper support and with the trajectory done, we could be bringing 10 to 20 million in economic impact to Provo and Utah. So that's the economic side of things, and maybe more, right? That's on one side. The Oscar qualifying status is probably our top 2 priority right now as far as that goes. The market, we want that. That begins on the genre side. It could broaden as time goes in, but we want this market to become one of the major global film markets, all here in Provo. We want everything to be here in the hub. If things do expand, it would all stay in Provo, but it would probably go up to the Riverwoods as well, to that space. We have some opportunities up there.
Great.
So you'd be looking at like a 10-minute shuttle between, like a shuttle service that's going from downtown to the North Provo, back and forth. We're already kind of exploring those conversations. There's, I don't want to give away everything that we're looking at doing, but we are in a unique position, whether it ultimately happens or not. We are in a position that we can actually do this. We have the right people that we're talking to. We have the right people that we're working with. We have a lot of headwind in our sales that we can do this. But I also want to point something out. We don't want to forget the other festivals that are here in Utah. We would like to see something that is implemented so that fiscally these other festivals can also be supported. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the way that we're looking for, because we are just looking at doing something very different, very grander. But we want those festivals to also have economic opportunity and economic growth, not just for those festivals, but to bring more impact and to also create a great offering. I mean, there's a great festival down in southern Utah that was the Kanab Film Festival that just folded. They just announced that they're folding. And they said that they were getting too big for where they were, and I was like, that's kind of an odd argument in my opinion. Like, yeah, it's good to get bigger, like I know they only have their space to do it. But they did, but maybe if they would have had a little bit more economic support, they could have been able to keep it going. And that was a great, Kanab's a cute town that has a lot of significant film history, not just for Hollywood, but for the state of Utah. And so it's a shame that's gone. And so we need to keep supporting each other and growing up as well. But maybe recognizing, the temperature that's happening and where certain things are going on, and that's not to exclude anybody or anything like that. But I believe there's a world that we could all work together and lift each other up. That in the way that Sundance wasn't doing or anything like that, right? Like, always keep it focused on the community and what's it look like for the community and how can we involve the community, not just for those 10 glorious days each fall, but right around Halloween when the festival takes place, but throughout the year, and really start making films and writing screenplays and producing content here in Utah, doing more production here, and bringing people here that don't just lift up the locals, because we have an incredible film community here. Like, we can really produce at any given time. We could do 3 to 5 A-list projects in Utah, depending on their size. And so we've got the tools, we've got the talent, and making more people aware of that, but also how can we be leaders in our community and keep the door open in a way that other events and other festivals maybe haven't done. And so I think if we can contribute in that way, there's a lot of incredible things that we can do.
I'm so happy that you bring the community, because this is the whole meaning of this podcast, the community. Our communities are so important. And so, Jonathan Martin, you are the best.
You're the best.
FilmQuest is the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really
Thank you.
Right.
Grazie.
But don't go anywhere, because at the end we always give.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes.
And it's just something that we 3D print, and you can put it everywhere, whatever you want, in the bathroom as well. We don't care. It's a memory that you will have, that you're being a guest here and you're going to come back. And so I just put the date and funny things, and this is yours. What is the date today, by the way?
It's today the 9th or the 10th? The 9th, February 9th.
9, 2026.
You wrote it the American way.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, look at that.
Even if for me it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because we'll be from the smaller to the big one, day, months, and year. I'm in America, and you need to do in America. You need to do it the American way, and in Rome you need to do it in Roman way. But you know, and I'm gonna put grazie, because in this way you remember. Thank you so much, brother. This is for you. And again, I can't wait to come to the next FilmQuest. And thank you so much to be in Boston.
Thank you, bello.
All right, bye, guys.